Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into some excerpts you sent us from the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, specifically Chapter 27, Discerning True and Evil Qi.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is. This chapter goes deep into ancient Chinese medicine's view of the human body and how it interacts with the environment.
Yeah, you know what's fascinating is how this text, written so long ago, sees the body as a reflection of nature. Like it uses this analogy of rivers and how they're affected by temperature and weather,
Yeah.
and how that's similar to our internal Qi or vital energy being affected by the world around us.
That's a cool way to think about it. So tell me more about this Qi.
Okay,
Is it all good vibes, or is there like a dark side to it too?
you're right. There are two types of Qi.
Okay.
You've got true Qi, which is like your body's natural energy, its vitality.
Okay.
And then there's pathogenic Qi, which represents those external forces that can disrupt the flow of true Qi.
So like when you get sick.
Exactly, can lead to illness.
Right, so our bodies are like these delicate ecosystems, right? Constantly interacting with the environment.
Right.
So how did ancient Chinese medicine figure out what was going on?
Good question.
Like, how did they diagnose these imbalances in qi?
They had this system called the 3 sections and 9 indicators to kind of observe and assess the state of Qi in different parts of the body.
Okay, so break that down for me. What are the 3
The
sections?
3 sections refer to the head, the trunk, and the limbs.
Okay.
And each section gives clues about the Qi in different parts of the body.
Got it. And what about the 9 indicators? What were they looking at?
So for the 9 indicators, they check things like your pulse, your complexion, even the sound of your voice.
Wow, that's incredibly detailed.
It is.
It's like a full body scan from centuries ago.
Exactly. But here's the key.
Okay.
The text really emphasizes that diagnosis isn't just following formulas. It's about observing the patient carefully
Yeah.
and understanding their unique condition.
Ah, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope, definitely not.
They really emphasized individualized care. So once they identified an imbalance, how did they go about restoring harmony?
It's kind of like 2 sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Tonification and drainage.
Okay, tell me more.
So tonification is all about replenishing that depleted true Qi,
Okay.
gently guiding Qi to the areas that need it.
And drainage is the opposite.
Yeah, drainage focuses on getting rid of excess or harmful pathogenic Qi.
So it's about getting rid of the bad stuff and bringing in the good.
Exactly. And the text uses these really cool images to describe them.
Oh, like what?
For tonification, it talks about waiting patiently for Qi to arrive as though one were awaiting something valuable.
I love that.
Right. And for drainage, they compare it to releasing an arrow at the precise moment to achieve maximum effectiveness.
Okay, so timing is important.
Very important.
So what happens if you get the timing wrong?
That's where the text talks about the dangers of misdiagnosis and improper treatment.
Because you could make things worse.
Exactly. Like if you try to drain Qi when it's not appropriate, you could actually deplete true Qi even more.
That makes sense.
It shows how important it is to respect the body's wisdom and not interfere unnecessarily.
So it's not just about doing something, it's about knowing when to do it.
Right.
And that actually brings us to a really fascinating point.
Oh, what's that?
This text potentially has connections to our modern understanding of health.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Like, there's this interesting research exploring the link between qi and the nervous system.
Really?
Yeah, like bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science.
I'm intrigued.
So some researchers suggest that the flow of qi along meridians, which are those pathways described in Chinese medicine,
Right.
might actually correspond to the pathways of our nerves.
Wow.
It's like these ancient concepts could have a real physiological basis.
That's amazing. So are there any practical examples?
Yeah, like how were tonification and drainage used to treat specific conditions?
Sure. Let's say someone's feeling fatigued
Okay.
and they have a weak pulse. That could indicate a Qi deficiency. So tonification techniques like acupuncture or moxibustion,
What's moxibustion?
it's burning herbs near specific points.
Interesting.
Or even dietary changes could be used to strengthen their vital energy.
Ah, so it's a holistic approach addressing the imbalance from different angles.
Yes, exactly.
And what about drainage? What kind of scenario would call for that?
Let's imagine someone has a fever or inflammation.
Okay,
This could suggest an excess or blockage of Qi.
got it.
So drainage techniques like acupuncture cupping or gua sha.
And remind me what gua sha is again.
It's scraping the skin.
Right, right.
Could be used to promote circulation and clear that blockage.
So it's like a balance between supporting and releasing.
Yeah, like a dance.
A dance aimed at restoring harmony in the body.
Exactly.
Now I'm curious about something. The text mentions punishment without transgression when talking about misdiagnosing and mistreating qi.
Oh, yes.
Why such strong language? What were they trying to say?
It really emphasizes how serious misdiagnosis and improper treatment are in this system.
Interesting.
Because remember, they saw the body as a reflection of nature.
Right.
And interfering with its natural flow could have serious consequences.
Like throwing off the entire balance.
Exactly, and potentially causing more harm.
It's a good reminder to be cautious and respectful even with ancient practices.
It is.
But it also seems like there's a real opportunity here
What do you mean?
to integrate this wisdom into our modern understanding of health, especially when it comes to preventative care.
I agree. Ancient Chinese medicine seems very focused on preventing illness.
Yeah, like we often wait until something is wrong before we take action.
That's true.
But maybe we could use these ancient principles to shift our focus from just treating disease to actually cultivating health and vitality.
I love that idea. It's about empowering ourselves to be proactive.
Exactly. And this deep dive is already making me rethink what I thought I knew about the body.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. It's like we're rediscovering ancient wisdom and finding new meaning in it for our modern lives.
I couldn't agree more. It's like finding those connections across time and cultures.
Exactly. And there's so much more to explore. So we were talking about how fascinating it is to see ancient concepts potentially backed by modern science.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else we haven't discovered yet, right?
Right. And speaking of ancient concepts, we were discussing the 3 sections and 9 indicators as a diagnostic tool.
Oh, yeah, that was a really intricate system.
It was. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure. So remember, this was long before X-rays or blood tests. They had to rely on really keen observation and a deep understanding of how the body works.
So remind me again, what are the 3 sections?
The 3 sections are the head, the trunk, and the limbs.
Right, okay.
Each section gives you clues about the state of qi in different parts of the body.
Got it. And what about those 9 indicators? What were they looking for there?
So for the 9 indicators, they would assess things like your pulse, your complexion, the sound of your voice, even your breath.
Wow, so they could gather so much information just from observing.
They really could.
It really highlights the importance of that practitioner-patient relationship, right?
Absolutely. It wasn't just about tests. It was about understanding the whole person.
Their physical, emotional, even spiritual state.
Exactly.
It makes me think about how modern medicine sometimes focuses on just treating symptoms rather than addressing that root cause of the imbalance.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's something ancient Chinese medicine really emphasizes.
Yeah, figuring out those underlying patterns.
Right. And restoring balance to the entire system.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned earlier there are 2 main treatment approaches.
Yeah.
Tonification and drainage. Can you give me some more specific examples of how those were used?
Of course. So let's say someone comes in feeling fatigued with a weak voice and pale complexion.
Okay.
That could suggest a qi deficiency in the lungs.
So they'd use tonification.
Exactly. They might use acupuncture to stimulate certain points to strengthen the lungs and boost qi production.
Oh, okay.
They might also use moxibustion. It involves burning herbs near specific points
Oh,
to
interesting.
warm and invigorate the flow of qi.
It sounds very gentle and nurturing.
It is.
And what about drainage? When would they use that technique?
Let's say someone presents with a fever headache and a rapid pulse.
Okay.
That could suggest an excess or blockage of qi.
Like from a cold or flu.
Yeah, possibly like an invasion of pathogenic qi.
So they'd focus on clearing that blockage and getting rid of the excess heat.
Precisely. Acupuncture could be used to open up those channels and promote qi flow. And cupping or gua sha could be used to reduce inflammation.
It's amazing how these techniques work on such a subtle level.
It is, and it's
Yeah.
something that still fascinates researchers today.
Trying to understand the mechanisms behind it all.
Exactly, and how it relates to our modern understanding of the body.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, using both ancient wisdom and modern science.
A perfect analogy.
Now, the text also talks about the dangers of misdiagnosing and mistreating qi.
Oh, yes.
And they use some pretty strong language.
Right, like punishment without transgression.
Yeah, what did they mean by that?
They believed that improper treatment could actually make things worse.
Oh.
Not just be ineffective, but actually create new problems.
So it's about the potential for real harm.
Exactly. So it's important to approach these practices with respect and understanding.
And seek out qualified practitioners.
Definitely someone who really knows what they're doing.
It's a good reminder that these techniques are powerful, even if they seem gentle.
You're right. And it really speaks to the connection between mind, body, and spirit. This text isn't just about physical ailments, it's about the whole person.
How everything's connected.
Yes, exactly.
That's a much more holistic perspective than we often see in modern medicine.
I think so, and I think we can learn a lot from that.
It's like this deep dive is showing us a whole new way of thinking about health.
Absolutely. It's about expanding our understanding and recognizing that there are many different approaches.
And finding what works best for each individual. You know, it's amazing how this ancient text can still be so relevant today.
It really is. And one of the things that really struck me is how it kind of challenges our modern ideas about healthcare.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
Well, like we often focus on those quick fixes in modern medicine.
Yeah, we want results fast.
Right. But this text emphasizes that true healing, it takes time.
Yeah, it's not about just masking the symptoms.
Exactly.
It's about getting to that root cause.
Right, like we were talking about with tonification and drainage. It's a way more holistic approach.
It is. It's recognizing that the body is this complex system.
Yes.
And healing means restoring balance to the whole thing.
Exactly, not just treating one isolated part.
It makes you wonder if our modern obsession with speed, if that sometimes works against us when it comes to health.
You know, that's a really interesting thought.
Like maybe slowing down and listening to our bodies.
Yeah.
Being patient with that healing process. Maybe that's just as important as any medical intervention.
It could be. It's like we need to trust our body's wisdom more.
Yeah, work with it, not against it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that passage about waiting for the key.
Oh, yeah. As though one were awaiting something valuable.
Yes. That one really stuck with me.
Me too. There's such a reverence for the body in that image.
It is, isn't it? It's about creating the right conditions for healing to happen naturally.
Not forcing it.
Right.
So if we wanted to apply this to our modern lives, what would that look like?
That's a good question.
Like, what can we actually do to cultivate that balance?
Well, for one, we can incorporate those lifestyle practices we talked about.
Yeah, like mindful eating,
Exactly.
gentle exercise, stress reduction techniques.
All of those things can make a huge difference.
Whether we're dealing with a health issue or just trying to stay healthy.
Exactly.
And it's also important to find the right practitioners.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
People who understand these principles.
Yes. They can guide us on our own health journey.
Because we don't have to do this alone.
It's okay to ask for help.
And ultimately, I think it comes down to awareness. Like really paying attention to our bodies.
Yeah, tuning in to those subtle cues.
And responding with care and intention.
Right, remembering that we're not machines.
We're not just things to be fixed.
Exactly, we're complex beings.
With an amazing ability to heal ourselves.
Yes, and that's what makes exploring this text so relevant today.
It reminds us that health isn't just the absence of disease.
Right.
It's a state of being.
It's about vibrancy and flow and harmony.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say keep exploring these ancient wisdom traditions.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn from them.
You never know what you might discover.
Exactly.
That's what the deep dive is all about. We'll see you next time, ready to unpack another fascinating topic.